Hey friends, this is Reverend Jerry, the People's Priest, aka Father Jerry, and today I am coming to you with your Monday Musings. When we talk about our life and our daily activity in our spiritual life and our discipleship, we often talk about the positive, triumphant, top of the mountain experiences. But I think we fail ourselves and our society when we deny our conversations revolving around the journey up to the mountain. And I think part of that is because it's not easy. It's oftentimes very stressful. We're not at our best when we're climbing the mountain, where we're all sweaty and have all these things on us. But the reality of it is that we can't get to the mountaintop unless we climb the mountain. And so there's this reality that to be human, it means to struggle. And part of struggle is failure. So I really find that it's a human thing to accept that we fail. And in our accepting that we fail, we already know in advance that it's a part of the process. So we begin to learn to not hold judgment for how often we fail or why we fail, but we just continue to recognize that it's a part of the process, it's part of being human, and it's a part of what it means to be fully alive. St. Augustine or St. Anselm, I can never remember, I always get them confused, said that the glory of God is a human being fully alive. And so to be fully alive, to experience the glory of God, is to accept that failure is a part of the human reality, of the human experience. So that means that sometimes when you're climbing your mountain, or sometimes when you're going through your struggle, you have to take a break. You might fall, you might get dirty, you're going to get sweaty, but that's all a part of the experience. So learning to accept that radically as a part of the equation allows you to say, okay, that's fine. I don't really like it, but I know I'm not the only one that has to do it. I'm not the only one that has to go through it. So I'm going to be open to the sacredness of the failure and recognize that it's a human thing to experience. So remember, dear friends, that life is short and we do not have much time to gladden the hearts of those who journey with us. So let us be swift to love, make haste to be kind, and each day radically embrace those parts of your life where you struggle and you fail, and recognize that it's a part of what it means to be human. Oftentimes when I go to my time in prayer, I have a myriad of thoughts that occur. Different people I'm thinking about, different experiences I've had, different problems that are kind of just swirling around. And what often happens is it just becomes overwhelming. And sometimes I'm just like, I don't know what to pray for. And I remember talking about this once in a spiritual direction session with a person who was asking about what to do in regards to like figuring out what exactly to pray for, what practices are good. And I brought up this point that oftentimes what happens when we go to our sacred center and we sit in silence or we sit in our practice, all these thoughts come up because they all matter and they're all important and we want to give them as much attention as we can. However, we sometimes forget that we have the authority to decide what gets attention and what does not. So when I was sharing this with this person, I said, you can choose to upplay or downplay whatever it is that you want to have in your consciousness. And what I mean by that is if you upplay something, you give it its attention, you put it at the forefront. And then if you downplay it, you say, okay, well, this is important, but I'm going to put it into a box. I'm going to set it to the side and give it attention at a later time. And so I think for us, as we journey through our experiences of life, as we journey through our spiritual development and our spiritual growth, we need to reclaim our authority to be a person who downplays and upplays all of the different things that are going on in our brain and our mind. And in so doing, what happens is we develop a spiritual practice of saying yes to what crucial thing that matters in this moment and no to those things that matter but don't matter right then and there. You can put them to the side. And in doing that, you develop a much more mature way of approaching spirituality and spiritual problems and your growth as a spiritual being having a human experience. So take this with you and remember to downplay and upplay it, those different ideas that you have when you're sitting in your spiritual practice and trying to find your sacred center. So this week, dear friends, remember that life is short and we do not have much time to gladden the hearts of those who journey with us. So let us be swift to love, make haste to be kind, and this day and every day claim your authority to upplay and downplay wherever you need. So when we deal with our ongoing reality of life, and when we try to recognize the different things that are playing in our head, and whether that's in our prayer time or that's in our daily activity, one of the things that I think often comes up, and it's a very human thing for us to deal with, is the reality that we struggle to believe certain things in our life. And often what happens is that unbelief comes in to that experience, and we just recognize that I just can't believe that today. And for a lot of people, that's very deregulating. It doesn't allow for grace. We oftentimes are harsh to ourselves when we have those experiences. So I want to encourage you this week to recognize the reality that you can pause the unbelief. Meaning, like when you're watching a TV show or Netflix or whatever it is, and you have a part that you want to see, but something else comes up. Maybe somebody calls you, or you realize, oh, I don't have any more snacks. So you pause it. It doesn't stop the desire that you want to have for watching the show, but it stops the show so that you can go and do what you need to do and then come back to that. Understanding that the show will still be there and the experience that you want to have with that show will still be there. But you are choosing to act upon your authority to pause it. And so too, you can add that activity or that authority to your unbelief and your belief. When you are struggling to believe what it means to be a spiritual person, to be somebody active in the world, you can choose to actively say, I'm not sure how I feel about that. I'm not sure if I really believe what that means. And you give that too much energy. So you say to yourself, well, I'm going to put that on pause for now. And I'm going to instead press play on my ability to believe in what I know to be true. And what happens is you create a lot more grace for yourself. And you say, okay, well, I don't have to believe everything today. I can allow myself to have some space between what it is that I believe now and what it is that I don't believe, but that I can grow into. So this week, dear friends, remember that life is short and we do not have much time to gladden the hearts of those who journey with us. So let us be swift to love, make haste to be kind, and claim your authority to pause the unbelief and to press play on grace and growth. In our spiritual practices, we oftentimes gravitate towards practices that revolve around sound, activity, and we neglect the beautiful, sacred reality of silence. And part of it is, I think, because silence is very intimidating to many people. Silence oftentimes provokes feelings of abandonment, feelings of loneliness, feelings of neglect, fear, anxiety. And I don't think they have to. I think if we can learn to sit in silence, to sit in the experience of stillness, what often happens is we realize that silence has a lot to say. And it can say more to us than any prayer that we can pronounce, any blessing that we can give. And in discovering the beautiful voice of silence and the beautiful messages of stillness, we can harness a more holistic, a more juicy experience of what it means to be fully alive. Sometimes you don't know the word of truth that you really need until you make a point to sit in the silence and let the silence speak volumes and majestic words that reverberate throughout your soul. And so I really want to encourage you that this week you try to make space to sit, to be still, and to embrace what all that silence has to say to you. And maybe you might actually discover it in listening to the silence that there is a truth about who you are that you have been neglecting in your daily life. You might discover that you are more worthy than you realize, that you are more loved than you realize. And silence has that to say to you. So make time this week to be silent, to be still, and you'll hear some beautiful words spoken over you. So this week, dear friends, remember that life is short and we do not have much time to gladden the hearts of those who journey with us. So let us be swift to love, make haste to be kind, and this week, be brave and daring to make space to listen to the silence.
Monday Musings is a weekly reflection series brought to you by Reverend Jerry Maynard, the People's Priest, and produced by C&G Communications. For a small donation of $25 per month, you can be listed as a podcast sponsor. For more information, please visit revjerrymaynard.org and click on the People's Priest podcast under the Media tab.